Hello and welcome. Today, I'm going to do a movie recap regarding a 2020 science fiction, action, thriller film entitled Tenet. Warning. Spoilers ahead. Enjoy the recap, everyone. The movie starts in Kiev, Ukraine. An unnamed operative, the protagonist, played by John David Washington, assists in a CIA assignment to foil an opera siege and retrieve a stolen cache of plutonium. His mission also seems to be to rescue a man, which he does, with the help of a team, with whom he blends in with SWAT teams. During the operation, the plutonium is found to be fake. Furthermore, the protagonist realizes that the opera was being bombed, and so he collects the bombs to save the people. The protagonist is at gunpoint by one SWAT member, but is saved by a masked gunman, with a red string on his back. He throws the bag of bombs away, and the people are saved. He is then abducted and tortured until he bites on an apparent suicide pill, before revealing any information. Upon waking, the protagonist learns the pill was a test of his loyalty. He also is told that his team didn't get clear. He is recruited into a secret organization, given only the information that the word Tenet and a cross-fingered gesture will open many doors for him. The protagonist infiltrates a facility, where he learns that in the future, technology has been developed that allows objects to have their entropy reversed and move backward through time. To demonstrate this, a scientist presents him with bullets that fire in reverse. The scientist believes that there is a war coming as objects are being streamed back in time from the future. Tracking the metal from which the reversed bullets are made, the protagonist infiltrates the compound of an Indian billionaire in Mumbai, with the aid of Neil, played by Robert Pattinson, a British intelligence agent. He learns that it is in fact the billionaire's wife, Priya, played by Dimple Kapadia, who knows what is happening. Priya tells the protagonist that the time-reversing technology is under the control of a Russian arms dealer, who is in communication with the future. The protagonist meets Sir Michael Crosby, played by Michael Caine, who tells him that an explosion went off in a now abandoned city in Russia, known as Stalsk 12. The protagonist learns from him that, in order to get to the Russian arms dealer, he needs to approach his practically estranged wife. The protagonist meets Kat, played by Elizabeth Debicki, and they talk at a restaurant. Kat tells the protagonist that Sater has her under his control due to a forged painting that she gave to him. She also mentions that she tried to love him again to see if he would let her go free, but Sater gave her the option to stay or leave and never see her son again. She says she saw a woman dive off their yacht in Vietnam when they were on holiday. Sater's men arrive at the restaurant soon. He manages to fight his way, but one of them drives away with Kat, just as the protagonist finishes the last henchman. He later tries to win Kat's trust by retrieving the painting from a free port at Oslo airport. Neil goes first to inspect the situation, and they plan to crash a cargo plane to start a fire. They take the help of Mahir, who crashes the aircraft and drops gold bars on the road as a distraction. During the operation, however, the protagonist and Neil are attacked by two masked men, one inverted and one forward, who emerged from a temporal style in the Pentagon. Both masked men escape before he and Neil are able to find out who they are. The protagonist meets Priya, who tells him that the two antagonists were the same person. He returns to Kat, asking for her help in meeting Sater. Kat arranges for the protagonist to attend a dinner party hosted by Sater, but the oligarch does not trust the protagonist until he mentions opera. The protagonist, Kat, and Sater go sailing, where they are discussing about plutonium, when suddenly, Kat pushes Sater out of the boat. The protagonist saves him, and Kat is mad at him for that.
Didn't you let him drown? I need him.
Sater says he is in debt, so he funds the protagonist, who offers to steal weapons-grade plutonium for him. The protagonist and Neil plan a heist on a highway, and they succeed in stealing the plutonium, which is in an orange case, from an armored vehicle. But they are interrupted by an inverted car. The car chases them until they see an inverted Sater, holding a forward Kat, at gunpoint in it. A crashed car on the road flips back, and drives backward in between them. Sater signals the protagonist to hand over the plutonium, but he hands over an empty orange case, and throws the plutonium into the car. The protagonist uncovers Sater and his gang's plot. They are operating a temporal pincer movement in which they move both forwards and backward in time, by means of entering a temporal style following the operation, and then moving backward through time. At the temporal junction, Sater shoots Kat and leaves with her, before Neil calls for reinforcements, and they arrive to secure the temporal style. The protagonist suspects them, questioning Neil about who these people are. Neil tells him they are Priya's men, a team led by Ives, played by Aaron Taylor Johnson. The protagonist follows Sator back through the temporal style, despite being warned not to, where he turns out to be the driver of the car. He puts a radio device on an empty orange casing on the road, and waits for it to go back into a car. He follows it, and it turns out Sator saw the plutonium flying from the Saab back into forward protagonist's hands. In the chase, the Saab crashes with the inverted protagonist inside it. Sator burns the car, which turns into ice, and manages to get hold of the algorithm piece off screen. The protagonist is rescued by Ives' team. Sator is revealed to be dying from inoperable pancreatic cancer, and has turned on the saddle, believing that if he is to die, he would prefer to spread death to all humanity. Sator is not looking for plutonium, but some future algorithm that can cause the entropy time direction of the world to reverse. Sator plans to use the algorithm as a doomsday device that will reverse entropy for the entire Earth, killing everything on it. The protagonist, Neil, and Kat follow Sator backward in time, traveling in a cargo ship container back to Oslo. The trio infiltrates the Freeport Art Storage Facility once again, where they enter the temporal style that allows Kat to move forwards through time again, and have her gunshot wound healed. The protagonist soon discovers he was, in fact, the unknown antagonist during their first operation at the Freeport, and hence has to fight his past self to go through. He meets Priya to ask her to warn his past self about how dangerous Sator is. However, she says she won't change what is about to happen. He wants her word that Kat will be safe. She has seen too much of what they are trying to keep secret. Priya gives him her word. They travel further back in time, where a military operation is launched, whereby the protagonist and Neil attempt to retrieve the doomsday device from Sator's men from the future in Stals 12. While Kat is with her husband on his yacht, aiming to prevent him from killing himself before the doomsday device is retrieved. They operate in a temporal pincer movement, where the red team moves forward, covering the blue team's extraction, and the blue team moves backward covering the red team's extraction. Neil uses a temporal style to invert back to forward, halfway through the operation, to warn the protagonist and Ives about a trap that he witnessed planted by Volkov. However, Neil's efforts are in vain. The protagonist and Ives enter the tunnel and get stuck in there. They go deeper and find the place where the doomsday device is monitored by Volkov, who is behind a gate that is locked. They also see a member of the blue team dead, beside Volkov with a red string attached to his bag. Sator talks to the protagonist from the boat about his plan through a communication device in the tunnel. Sator explains that, since that future is dying, they have no other option than to turn back to the past. Sator then orders Volkov to shoot the protagonist in the head when the dead body emerges, takes the shot, and the gate unlocks. The protagonist and Ives kill Volkov and retrieve the doomsday device. Time is running out. Neil, who has switched halfway, throws a rope through the hole on top of the tunnel, and the protagonist and Ives hold on as they are pulled up. Meanwhile, Kat kills Sator on the boat. The explosion goes off, but the world is saved. Kat realizes that she was the woman her past self had seen on the boat and dives into the water. Ives breaks the algorithm into 3 pieces and divides it between himself, the protagonist, and Neil. Ives emphasizes that they should keep it secret. Neil passes his piece to the protagonist, as he intends to go back in. It was then that the protagonist notices that Neil has a red string on his back. He realized that Neil was the masked man who saved him during the opera siege, and the blue team member who gets killed by Volkov inside the tunnel. The protagonist sheds tears, as he knows his friend's destiny now. Neil tells the protagonist that he'll see him at the beginning, and goes back into the operation with the blue team. The film ends with the protagonist saving Kat from being killed by Priya, revealing that it is his job to tie up loose ends. I hope you enjoy another episode of our movie recap. Until next time.